All right. Well, welcome to the call, everyone. Today, my name is Brandon Weesey, and I will be your host for this TLC session. And we are excited that everyone has joined us for the presentation by Rachel Orlansky. She will be presenting on accessing accommodations, framework for students. And do remember that if you have any questions at any point, please feel free to use the chat box, and we'll monitor those and get to those questions as we go along. But Rachel, the floor is yours, and thank you for your leadership today.
Great, thank you, Brandon. I notice there's not too many people in the room now or yet, and so if folks join along the way, hopefully you get the memo that this session here is supposed to be targeted for our students. If there are any faculty or staff on who are looking to get a sense of accessing accommodations from a student perspective, feel free to hang out with us. Also know that I'm doing a similar session for Framework for Faculty tomorrow. So if that seems more fitting, just wanted to make folks aware that there are two different presentations, and this one is particularly targeted for students. So wanted to begin by showing folks that our office, Access and Wellness, serves our students with disabilities throughout the institution, and we're looking at it first and foremost from a law perspective, a legal perspective. Section 504 of the National Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act are the two laws really that guide what we do in this office. Which enables us to provide access to all students, regardless of any kind of disability or really just difference. This is not an exhaustive list of the types of disabilities and chronic illnesses that students experience at Ashford, but it's some of our most common. So students perhaps might be blind, deaf, have learning disabilities or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, different psychological or mental health issues, chronic health issues, and some temporary disabilities as well. So for you students out there who are curious about the process for requesting or authorizing accommodations, these are the steps that you would take to do so. So the process here begins with a student submitting an accommodation request form. So students who feel like they might fit into some of the categories that I mentioned before, or perhaps different ones, would start the process by submitting an accommodation request form. This form, I'll show you on the next slide, but we receive it in our office, and that's what prompts folks getting assigned to a counselor. If a student makes a self-referral or a staff or faculty make a referral to our office on behalf of a student, you'll receive an outreach email and call from our office, and that will give you information that contains the accommodation request form, but you can also access it on your own. Once we receive the accommodation request form, we'll have an Access and Wellness counselor reach out to a student, and in that reach out, there's a comprehensive structured interview. We collect any documentation from a student, and if you are, as a student, are eligible for accommodations, we would work together on drafting an authorized accommodation for you. Our authorization of accommodations, the process includes discussing how those accommodations will be implemented, so how you can articulate those accommodations to your instructors. The form that we provide you with after we solidify the draft is valid for 1 year. After that year, we would reconnect with you and update based on any needs or changes to anything that you're requiring in the classroom. Of course, if any changes need to be made prior to that 1 year, that's also possible, but as a standard process, we update every year. This is what the accommodation request form looks like. Just wanted to show a sneak peek of it so you could see that this is not a very scary, intense form. It's just letting us know that you want to learn more about our accessibility and our Access and Wellness office. And so this is what gets the process started and will get you outreach from a counselor. Some of the accommodations that we provide through our office include extended time on assignments and quizzes, exams, required course materials in accessible format. So currently most of our materials in the classroom are in electronic format, which is a preferable form for many students, but some require hard copy textbooks or the reverse. There's a hard copy text in the class and a student needs an electronic text due to their disability. There are a few instances where course substitution may be needed for a student with a disability. And really, our office is here to provide support and advocacy and help students liaise with various resources on and off the university that might be of benefit. Once we've solidified our authorized accommodations and you have your authorized accommodation form, it's the student's responsibility to provide the instructor with that authorized accommodation form. Communication is key. Communicating with the instructor around your needs, communicating with your access and wellness counselor around your needs in the classroom that may or may not be being met, and really managing time, right? So even though students with accommodations may have extra time, it doesn't necessarily mean that's more time to do things. It may take students longer, right? And so that's why you're getting extended time. Managing your time and all of these communications with their instructor and your counselor, we're all a big team here to help our students, our students, and yet it's the student's responsibility to initiate that support, right? So to let your access and wellness counselor know if you're needing support and letting your instructor know if you're in need of accommodations. Here's a little ending slide that has our contact information. Should anyone watching this presentation want to reach out, we can be reached by email or a phone. You can check out our homepage, which has more information around what I just described. But I'm hoping to open it up for questions, in the chat, which I may have been missing while I've been talking. So just if anyone can put out some questions, I'm happy to answer those. Let's see if I can actually see any, or if Brandon, you have any to throw my way.
Great, thanks, Rachel. At this time, we have not had any questions yet, but let's open it for questions. If anyone has questions for Rachel, please type them into the chat box, and we will we'll give a chance for some questions.
I think most folks on the line may not actually be students, which is awesome. But if anyone has any questions on the line in support of their students, I'd be happy to answer those, or if students have questions themselves, whatever fits best for folks. Small group today, Brandon.
That's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure we have a moment in case anyone would like to type a question. But yeah, it looks like a question did come through, if you can see that. Sure.
So Jessica, thank you. I'm an enrollment services advisor. How do you recommend I speak about access and wellness when they ask about it? So I think getting familiar with perhaps some of the language on our website might make you feel comfortable, but I think if a student outright asks about what access and wellness can provide, I would say, I'd love to make a referral on your behalf so they can reach out to you directly and talk with all the services and accommodations they can provide. You making a referral to our office will, like I said, will prompt an outreach call and an outreach email, which will send them information. And that may be the best way to give the information directly from our office. You could also pull up our website, talk about basically some of the things I talked about today. So, we do have an access and wellness department. Our job is to provide accessibility and equitable access for students with disabilities to access their education. If you are eligible for any of those accommodations, a counselor would help work with you on what those accommodations are. Let me know if that's kind of what you're looking for, if you want some more specific information, but I think anytime you can make a referral to our office and have the student hear from us directly would probably be a best case scenario for the student. Sure. Hi, Moppy. Does the Access and Wellness Office provide accommodations for students who are experiencing hardship due to a disability experienced by a spouse, partner, or a child? It's a great question and one we get a lot in Access and Wellness, and the answer is no. Students are not eligible for accommodations based on a disability of somebody else in their family. However, we do also have a helpline in Access and Wellness, and folks who work at the institution know that they can make a referral to our helpline, Help at Ashford, and that will be for students experiencing any kind of crisis. Likely a student, what you're describing might be a student who's experiencing hardship around caring for a family member with a disability, perhaps may not qualify, but it doesn't hurt to have an outreach. Folks on our team are on the helpline are trained counselors who can help connect students with resources and talk about maybe taking a break from classes or all the things that our student services folks do too. So a referral to help may be appropriate, but is important to note, especially for folks working with students, that that's not something that an accommodation would be eligible for. Thank you for asking.
We'll give it a moment just for any further questions that might be lingering. We'll take just a moment more for questions. Please do ask those questions of Rachel. She's here and willing to answer anything you've got.
And as I said in the beginning, and some folks may have missed, the purpose of this particular session was to get the word out to students directly who may be wanting to seek services in access and wellness. But I have a little more information from a faculty staff perspective tomorrow, accessing accommodations, a framework for faculty. And so that may provide some answers too, and we'll also have a lot of similar information, but differently, this was meant to be shorter so that students who were interested in getting information could feel like they have the information to connect if they needed to.